Hi everyone, my name is Kristen Tandy and I am here to talk to you all today about co-ops, what are co-ops, and what co-ops look like at Colorado School of Mines, and going over the co-op policy booklet. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and show you how to navigate to the co-op policies from our website. Okay, so from the co-op, from the Career Center website, on the home page, you can navigate to students, jobs, and internships. And then if you scroll down, you continue scrolling, you can access the co-op policy booklet by clicking here, and it will pull up a PDF. So I'm going to go through what this PDF is. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to add a co-op experience into Diggernet for approval. And we'll talk about what that looks like. But let's go through this policy booklet first. So a co-op is essentially an opportunity for a student to gain credits, academic credits for a work experience. Oftentimes, this work experience is a full-time 6-month position with an organization or company. More organizations are doing this as time goes on. So at Mines, students are able to get at the current time frame that this video is being recorded in August of 2022. Students are able to get up to 3 credits of potentially major, specific, or free elective. Because students are able to get academic credits for this experience, the university needs to make sure that there are policies and procedures in place that ensure that this work experience is worthy of that academic credit. So essentially making sure that students are not, grabbing coffee for their supervisors and having that be a necessary part of their job. Instead, we want to make sure that students are able to engage with actual work experiences that can equate to that academic experience. So a co-op is an agreement between a student, the student's major department, the Mines Career Center, but also the student's employer. So employers and faculty and the Career Center all sign off on what this experience looks like. And we'll go through what those permissions look like. So the specific requirements of a co-op: students must be in a good disciplinary and academic standing in order to do a co-op. So this means a minimum 2.0 GPA, and the student must have completed a minimum of 3 semesters at Mines or 2 semesters if they are a transfer student. They need to make sure that they are actively engaging on their co-op site, and they need to make sure that the return to Mines occurs at least 1 semester prior to graduation. For this experience, and we'll talk about more of what this looks like, credit and tuition gets applied the semester that the student returns. And we'll talk about that in just a second when we talk about the co-op placeholder course. So in order for this to be considered a co-op, and the employer and the student must agree that the employment looks like a minimum of 6 months of full-time work. This gets structured in a variety of ways. It can be a full-time 6-month interval. Usually that's 1 full semester. Sometimes it can go into the summertime if it's a fall co-op, or it can extend into winter break if it's a spring co-op. It could look like alternating semesters between work and school until a 6-month equivalent is achieved. Or it could look like working full-time during the summer plus part-time during the academic year, again, ultimately getting to that equivalent of 6 months of full-time work. Something that I want to share with you all is that we want to make sure that the co-op is both a wonderful academic experience for the student, and at the same time, we want to make sure that co-ops are accessible to students. So we don't necessarily track hours of what students are doing. So sometimes students might be doing 5 months in a couple of weeks. So talk with the Career Center co-op coordinator just to make sure that if your co-op does fall outside of that full-time 6-month interval, that we can still make sure that that gets approved. Okay, so part of the requirements of a co-op is that students have to complete all paperwork and get signatures of approval for the co-op before the work term starts. Once all of those approvals are set in motion and have been granted, approvals meaning from the employer, from the Career Center, from faculty, the student gets placed in a co-op 340 class. It's a placeholder course to maintain the active status of that student. Sometimes I have students who will come and are interested in doing a co-op, but they aren't interested in necessarily doing the paperwork side of things. And unfortunately, withdrawing from the university might be the only other option that a student would have in order to do a co-op. That ends up being a lot more work than the paperwork for a co-op. So if you're doing a co-op, make sure to do the paperwork. The Career Center is here to support you in doing that and making sure that you get into that co-op placeholder course so that you maintain your active status and can easily register for classes upon your return. Other things to note, students must maintain personal health insurance during the time of academic activity off campus. Oftentimes, the university provides students with medical insurance. If you are participating in that health plan, make sure if you're considering a co-op to secure your own health insurance so that you are safe. Students must submit paperwork and evaluations to the Career Center according to the schedule that's noted in this document, and we'll go over what that looks like. For students who are gathering academic credit for this experience, they are required to do a technical report once they come back from the experience, and this gets graded by faculty at the end of the semester of their return. Okay. So prior to committing to a co-op, the student has to do a couple of different activities and pieces of paperwork in order to go on their co-op. So part of this includes planning their coursework for the remainder of their degree completion. They do this alongside their co-op faculty advisor, which is a faculty member that sits within their academic department that helps make sure that the student can plan all of their courses when they come back, essentially keeping them on track towards graduation if possible. The student completes relevant learning objectives based on the job description that they will be performing with the help and acknowledgement of the supervisor signing as the employer. These learning objectives must be submitted before the student leaves. If the employer of record changes the student's tasks, these learning objectives should be updated and resubmitted to the Career Center. We'll talk about what that looks like for submitting those learning objectives in the next video when we talk about Diggernet. The student has to receive signatures of prior approval from their academic department, meaning their faculty co-op advisor. Something I'll note is that this is not a CASA academic advising advisor. This is someone who sits in your faculty who might teach some classes, but they are a part of your academic major department. So you will receive prior approval from the academic department, your employer, and the Career Center. All of those approvals will happen within the Diggernet system for the most part, and we'll talk about the exceptions to that. Students will complete any health insurance or financial aid arrangements and submitting those required forms to their respective offices. Those forms are included in this policy and procedures manual, so we will go over those. While the students are at the co-op, they must check in with the co-op coordinator to make sure that things are going well with their co-op. While they are on that co-op, their employer submits a midterm evaluation of them. If there's any problems that are arising for that student, the student should contact the Career Center as soon as possible to make sure that they get a successful completion of that co-op experience. While at the co-op, probably towards the midpoint or the end of the co-op, the student will register on Trailhead for courses that they need to take during their return semester, allowing for that 3 hours of the co-op 340 placeholder course, and so the credits and the tuition will be applied upon their return. So if you're looking to take the max amount of credits, make sure that you're adjusting those credits if you are having those 3 hours for the co-op placeholder course. And then you'll plan for the technical paper, the final project that you'll do. Again, you'll be working with your faculty advisor to make sure that you're addressing all of the areas that you need to address in this technical report. Upon the return to School of Mines, the student has to make sure that their employer has submitted the final feedback form. This is on Diggernet as well, in addition to that midterm evaluation form. They'll also complete an exit interview with the Career Center co-op coordinator. They'll complete some forms in the Diggernet system, a self-evaluation and a program evaluation, and then they'll submit their final project to the academic department, making sure to copy the Career Center on that communication. So those are the overall policy and procedures. Let's dive into specifics of this document to make sure you get some questions answered before we talk about what Diggernet looks like. So this second page of this document is a co-op procedure timeline. We talked about all of the nuts and bolts that go into what the co-op entails. This is more specifics about the specific pieces of paperwork that are involved. So what I want to share is that all documents and processes that are listed in this, unless otherwise specified, are completed within Diggernet. Again, in the next video, we'll talk about how to add an experience into Diggernet so that you're making sure to complete all of these pieces of paperwork. However, any documents listed here that have an asterisk next to them must be printed and signed by all of the parties responsible that are listed on the form. These do get uploaded into Diggernet. Hard copies of all forms are available as well, just in case Diggernet is unavailable. Examples of what this looks like is that if an employer is trying to complete the midterm evaluation of a student and for some reason they can't access it within the system, we do have hard copy versions of those midterm and final evaluations, though certainly we are happy to help employers troubleshoot any issues with the system so that they can do it there because it's just easier. Okay, so we'll dive into the different pieces of paperwork that are required. The first is the Cooperative Education Student Agreement. This gets completed by the student prior to the beginning of the co-op assignment. The second one is a Cooperative Education Pre-Approval from faculty. This includes both the course degree planning and a pre-approval from faculty for how this experience will fit into the student's academic coursework. And these forms are included in this policy and procedures manual, so we'll go over those. This gets completed by both the student and faculty prior to the beginning of their co-op assignment. Students do need to verify that they have health insurance coverage, that they've secured that for while they will be on the co-op. This does get submitted to the student health benefits coordinator. Next piece of paperwork is a request of deferment of scholarship or financial aid. A lot of students at Mines are on some sort of scholarship or financial aid that can be paused while they're on their co-op, since they won't be paying for any credit or tuition while they are gone. This gets submitted to the financial aid office before the student leaves. Finally, the last two pieces that get completed prior to the beginning of the co-op assignment is the employer responsibilities and cooperative education contract. This gets completed by the employer prior to the beginning of the co-op assignment. This is essentially the employer approval of the co-op. This does get completed in Diggernet. And then the last piece of paperwork that gets completed in Diggernet is the job-related learning objectives contract. This is completed by the student. It's reviewed and approved by the employer within Diggernet. It's reviewed and approved by the Career Center Co-op coordinator also. And this does get completed prior to the co-op assignment. While on the co-op, there's a couple of pieces of paperwork that get completed by the employer. One of those is the employer midterm evaluation of the student that gets automatically sent to them from the Diggernet system at the midpoint of the co-op assignment. The next piece is the employer final evaluation of that co-op student, and that does get automatically sent to the employer within 10 days of the co-op end. The system will trigger to remind employers to complete that. Upon return, the student will complete a student self-evaluation of learning objectives within the Diggernet system, and that does get completed within 2 weeks of return from the co-op. They'll complete a program evaluation reflection within a month of return. They'll do a return interview with the Career Center co-op coordinator. So make sure if you are on a co-op or you're going on your co-op, make sure to set that up with the Career Center co-op coordinator either before you leave or while you are on that co-op. That does get completed within 1 month of the return. Finally, the student completes the final project technical report. It's due within 4 weeks of the beginning of the return semester. The reason for that being, as you get further on in your semester of return, you might forget the things that you did on your co-op for your technical report. So that is due within that 4 weeks of the beginning of your return semester. It does get reviewed and graded by faculty. So those are all of the procedures and paperwork required. Let's dive into the rest of what this policy and procedures manual looks like. This co-op contact sheet is a resource for students. Make sure if you are looking for the Career Center co-op coordinator, whoever that is at the time, go to the Career Center website in the jobs and internship section and make sure to access this co-op policy procedure manual to make sure whoever is the co-op coordinator at the time that you have that updated information. Also make sure you can utilize this as a resource to add in your faculty co-op advisor once you have that person identified. Again, that should be a faculty member in your program. In addition, you can include your employer supervisor, and other points of contact is the Mind Student Health Insurance Benefits Coordinator. Again, this information could change at any time for who the point of contacts are. So make sure that you're accessing this from the Career Center website to get the most up-to-date information. Further, Mind's financial aid and the Mind's registrar. So make sure to contact them if you need them. Okay. This form does get printed and signed and uploaded by the student into Diggernet. This is essentially the student agreement stating that the student understands what is required of them before leaving campus, during their co-op experience, and after returning to campus. So by signing this, you are essentially stating that you understand what's expected of you and that you'll make sure to complete all of these items. This gets signed and printed by the student alone. The next piece of paperwork to complete, this gets completed with the student and their faculty advisor. This is the course degree completion plan. So students will complete this course degree completion plan for the rest of the courses that they plan to take when they come back, making sure that students save room in their return semester for the credits that will get applied from the co-op course. The student and the department head both sign this document. And if you're wondering who is the department head, it's the same person as your faculty advisor. So your faculty advisor will sign this. The next piece of paperwork that gets completed with the student and their faculty advisor is the prior approval to apply co-op credit towards graduation requirements. So make sure to complete all of these different areas. The departmental co-op advisor name is your faculty advisor. Again, make sure this is not necessarily an academic advising person in CASA. This is a faculty within your program. The student will take the co-op 340 class for most of the time, students are getting it for 3 hours. And then this is where you get to decide with your faculty advisor how this credit gets applied into your course plan. Either this is a free elective, a department elective, or other specific course name. This form gets completed and signed by the student and is also signed by the faculty advisor in the department. Again, if you see departmental co-op advisor, faculty advisor, or department head, it's all the same thing within this paperwork. The last pieces of paperwork, well, what I'll say about the student agreement, the degree completion plan, and the prior approval to apply co-op credit towards graduation requirements. These 3 forms get uploaded into Diggernet. Make sure if you are putting these forms in Diggernet that you upload them completely fully, that all signatures are there. I'll show you on the next video what it looks like to add this stuff into Diggernet. Okay, the next 2 forms do not get submitted into Diggernet, but please make sure that these forms go to their respective offices. The first of these forms is the verification of health insurance while the student is on their co-op. Again, make sure contacts might change at any time, so make sure that you are accessing this form from the Career Center website to make sure that you're submitting it to the right person, just in case contacts change. But the student will complete this form stating how they plan to have health insurance while they are gone. Again, this gets completed and sent to the student health benefits coordinator, whoever that is at the time. The final form is the request for scholarship or financial aid deferment while the student is on the co-op. So if the student has any financial aid scholarships they would like to pause, please complete this form, chat with the financial aid office to make sure that it's completed the right way, that you are good to go before you leave. Okay, those are all of the co-op policies. Again, you can access this form from the Career Center website under jobs and internships. And if you scroll down that page, you can access the co-op policy packet. The next video we will cover the Diggernet system and what it looks like to add a co-op experience into Diggernet to make sure that it can get those approvals from the employer, the faculty, and the Minds Career Center. So stay tuned for that video. Thank you.